Ewan, so great to see you. I guess we should start with, why Multiverse?
I started my career in investment banking. I wouldn't go back to that. No disrespect to investment banking and the wonderful world of finance. I wanted to do something for a long time, and particularly while I was in banking, that aligned with the social causes I cared about. And in this case, education, careers, employment. I spent a few years helping long-term unemployed people find jobs, which was fascinating, but ultimately frustrating, because what you couldn't do is change who was getting access to the very best jobs. And it was very difficult sometimes to do more than put a Band-Aid on what were quite deep societal problems. So it would have to be something addressing a similar challenge in education, and really linked to the thing that I've always cared about, which is equality of opportunity. How do you make sure that your background doesn't end up defining your destination? Because that's too often the case at the moment.
And when you think about the ideal candidates, how large is that pool of potential folks who would be interested in Multiverse?
Well, potential people doing apprenticeships, we're talking hundreds of millions. In the US, 75% of all people leaving school go to college and go and do a degree. In the UK, it's about 50%. Lots of those people are not being well served by the current system and could be doing something else instead. At Multiverse, certainly, we've already worked with thousands of apprentices, and we expect to work with tens of thousands, if not ultimately more than 100,000, as we really build out both the institution of Multiverse, but also this approach that is non-academic, built around applied learning, delivered in the workplace.
So the other thing that's been interesting to me is to see the types of companies and corporates who are interested in Multiverse. I was curious to hear from you, why do you think that these multinationals, US companies, are interested in Multiverse?
I think for companies, it's amazing the extent to which access to diverse talents become a burning platform for them, because they have talked about the challenge of not representing the communities they serve well enough. There is now a clear desire that's moved beyond an impulse to actually go and do something about it. And so setting up structured programs where they can say, we will reach beyond the normal sources of talent we hire while still bringing in excellent people. And at the same time, we'll equip them to do the jobs we need them to do now and in the future, is just incredibly important. One of the key things that we offer is we don't charge the individuals who are going and doing apprenticeships with us, right? There are no income sharing arrangements. They're not required to pay upfront or deferred or through a percentage of their salary. The companies are paying for this because they believe in it. And that's really, really important as you scale something like this.
The performance of Multiverse prior to COVID was really pretty astounding. It would be interesting to hear from you why it's resonating even in this current environment, and also what you've had to adapt with your team in order to adapt to the current state.
What's been happening in the world has been incredibly important for our message. It's resonating even more than it was before, post-COVID, and particularly post what's happened in the world in 2020. Right? People are increasingly asking, I'm having to do this university experience now that is online. I don't get the same social connections. I'm still paying huge amounts of money for it. Is it fair or is it worth it? I think on a practical level, look, the first thing we had to do is this was a face-to-face organization for how we delivered learning. We had to transition everything online. And we did that across every single apprentice we worked with in 7 days. So actually it was a huge effort from the team. We rewrote a lot of our curricula and content, because you can't just basically deliver the same things you would deliver in a face-to-face setting virtually and expect them still to work.
So let's talk a little bit on the personal front, how it's been for you as a founder to go through this period. What have been the challenges, and what have been some of the sort of silver linings that have come out of this for you personally?
When you go through something like this, it forces you to hone in on what's really important. So you become incredibly ruthless at prioritizing, both in terms of your own personal agenda and what you're doing on a daily and weekly basis, but also for the company. It gave us a chance to look at all the things we were doing and decide what's really important, what do we need to double down on in a very different environment, and what do we need to ditch. And so that was important discipline for all of us. I think on the challenges front, a lot of it's just about keeping people motivated and feeling connected. When you're cut off from contact in lockdown and not seeing people in the same way, that's not always enough. So we've done lots to try and engage people in creative ways. We've done lots to make sure people aren't suffering from Zoom fatigue. So we're doing lots of calls while walking and doing exercise instead of just Zoom meetings. We're doing lots of kind of virtual hangout spaces where people can come in and drop off and there's no judgment, they can stay as long as they like. Because just keeping people's energy levels up at a time like this is really, really important.
Thanks a lot, Ewan. This has been a lot of fun and looking forward to seeing you in person sometime.
Pleasure as always. Can't wait, Danny. And already looking forward to our next board meeting. See you soon.
Bye.